Hey everybody, I'm Morgan, the Mortgage Guide, and today I want to talk to you guys about the 3 pillars of financing, as I call them. These are the 3 things necessary on the finance end to be able to successfully get a mortgage approved. And I explain this to everybody when we are working our first pre-approval together, or if we're working an active transaction, we're on our Zoom call and I'm screen sharing, teaching you guys how it works. This is one of the things that I always review with everybody. And the 3 pillars of financing are crucial because these are the things that we need to have to be able to get our finance approved. Pillar number 1, the property. We want a property that is financeable. And now, one of the main reasons people have been gravitating towards mortgage brokers instead of banks directly is not that there's anything wrong with any bank. Every bank has their strengths, meaning there are banks that will gravitate towards certain types of properties and discard other types of properties. So when we're looking at the property itself, it needs to be a property that is financeable, and then if it is financeable, who is it financeable with? Condition, location, construction type, etc. will dictate who can or cannot finance this type of property. So we need to find out, first of all, do we have lenders that like the property? And we do this by a number of different factors. Of course, reading through what's called the seller's declaration, which will have a long list of things. We should be able to discern quickly who could or could not finance that property. And of course, after a home inspection, that might also lead us to readjust if necessary based on the findings. So number 1 pillar, the property. Second pillar, credit. And when we're looking at credit, we're looking at 2 different things. So one, we're looking at the credit score. So depending on what your credit score is, it will determine, first of all, how much you could borrow and with who you could finance and how much down payment you may need to put down to purchase that property. And the second part of the credit pillar is the content of the credit bureau. And this is really not to be overlooked, because having a good credit score is one thing, but we want to know why your credit is like that. The same thing when you have a poor credit score. What's the reason for the poor credit score? Is it that your credit cards are always touching their limit, but they're always paid off, but because they go high to their limit, it's reducing your credit score? That's different than if you had a bankruptcy, for example. So we want to see the contents of it, because when we, mortgage brokers, are presenting your offer to the bank, our job is to sell you to the lender. So we want to know what's happened so that we can preemptively explain to them why it looks like this, what are the strengths within the credit bureau itself, and why the bank wants to lend to someone like yourself. And then the third pillar, which is something that I always do on screen share with my clients over Zoom, is to calculate what's called the debt servicing ratios. Now, the debt servicing ratios can be another video on the math behind it, but in broad strokes, what the debt servicing ratios are is how much annual debt do you have versus how much annual income. And then based on property, credit score, and lender, different ratios will be acceptable above or below certain percentages. And to be able to get a finance across the line approved, we need to satisfy all 3 of these things. And this is one of the reasons I always strongly recommend, before making any offers on properties, to make sure you're doing a proper, complete pre-qualification. Plenty of places, many applications will allow you to input your rough income, rough debts, and it will give you a number that you can afford. But as you can see, there are a lot of other components necessary to get a mortgage approved, and a full pre-qualification exercise will go through all of your finances, debts, income, child support payments, etc. We'll touch on types of properties we can or cannot or should or shouldn't finance, and we'll take the time to review the credit bureau to make sure that there are no hidden landmines, if you will, that can cause problems later on down the line. So those are my 3 pillars of financing. I wish everyone out there trying to purchase property the best of luck, and if anybody needs any help, all my contact information is above. So thank you very much for watching. Have a great day. Cheers.